but he is a saint that looms large on the horizon of the church. And as you know already, this year, this liturgical year, has been dedicated to the patronage of Saint Joseph. Just like to share with you a brief commentary. The Bible pays Joseph the highest compliment in calling him a just man. This quality means a lot more than faithfulness in paying debts. When the Bible speaks of God justifying someone, it means that God, the all-holy or righteous one, so transforms a person that the individual shares somehow in God's own holiness, and hence it is really right for God to love him or her. In other words, God is not playing games, acting as if we were lovable when we are not. But by saying that Joseph was just, the Bible means that he was the one who was completely open to all that God wanted to do for him. He became holy by opening himself totally to God's plan. The rest we can easily surmise. Think of the kind of love with which he wooed and won over Mary, and the depth of the love they shared during their marriage. It is no contradiction of Joseph's manly holiness that he decided to divorce Mary when he found her to be pregnant. The important words of the Bible are that he planned to do this quietly because he was a righteous man, not willing to shame her. This just man was simply, joyfully, wholeheartedly obedient to God in marrying Mary, in naming Jesus, in shepherding the precious pair to Egypt, in bringing them to Nazareth, in training Jesus in the trade, and in the undetermined number of years of quiet faith and courage. The Bible tells us nothing of Joseph in the years after their return to Nazareth, except the incident of finding Jesus in the temple. Perhaps this can be taken to mean that God wants us to realize that the holiest family was like every other family, and that the circumstances of life for this holy family were like those of every family, so that when Jesus' mysterious nature began to appear, people couldn't believe that he came from such humble beginnings. For instance, in saying, "Is he not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother named Mary?" The fact is, God chose Joseph as the trustworthy guardian and protector of his greatest treasures, namely his divine son and Mary, Joseph's wife. He carried out his vocation with complete faithfulness until at last God called him, saying, "Good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of my kingdom." Joseph has three particular titles. He is the patron saint of carpenters, for obvious reason. He is also the patron saint of the dying, because the tradition holds that he died most likely before Jesus began his public ministry. Some of you have probably seen that beautiful artwork of Jesus and Mary standing by the bed of Joseph as he's dying. He's a patron saint of a peaceful death. But I guess most importantly, he's a patron saint of the whole church, that we entrust our whole church to his care. Why would that be? Well, if you think about the fact that Joseph formed a home for Mary and for the Christ child, and that home is the church, the presence of God's people with the presence of Christ. And so the Holy Family of Nazareth, as humble as they were, as simple as they were, perhaps as impoverished as they were, are a symbol of what our church is. And just as Joseph, the good man, the righteous man, was entrusted with the care of that early church, that holy family, so too he's entrusted with the care of our universal church, all of God's people gathered together with the saints and with Mary and Joseph. So as we continue our journey through Lent, it's good for us to pause on this day and to really give thanks to God for the gift of this just and righteous man who cared for Mary as his own wife, who cared for Jesus as his own flesh and blood, and who cares for us even today.